So today we are looking at chapter 9 in the youth manual. We have made it to resistance training. So this is going to be sort of the meat and potatoes of your workout, right? We are talking about leg day today. Of course, with use, for the most part, we're doing total body routines most of the time, but still, we are talking about like a pretty good sort of layout for our either leg day or chest day or back day or total body day or upper day or lower day or anterior chain day or posterior chain day. Or maybe you do like the zigzag, which I really love, where you do like upper body in the front, posterior body in the back, and then you do upper body in the back, posterior body in the front. You make the X. A million different ways that you could set up your training splits and set up your training resistant sections. Um, but that is sort of what we are looking at, right? So youth resistance training, we want to talk about how some of the misconceptions that are surrounding it, we're going to see right off the top here. There have been some misconceptions about like the idea that resistance training is dangerous for youths. It's been known to be kind of controversial because it has all these like different consequences, but that is totally inaccurate. And we'll tear that down a little bit here in just a sec. Because with like anything else, with proper training and doing things, in a progressive, systematic manner, it's safe, it's effective, and it improves like, everything in life. So it's great. So our objectives today, we want to understand the benefits when it comes to youth resistance training. We want to dispel any myths that might be surrounding it, kill those myths, understand the general guidelines for how to actually implement this stuff, and then how to actually write them. So right off the bat, I gotta pull up that one kid. Kid bodybuilder. This kid's name was literally like Hercules, if I remember right. So right off the bat, like we'll pull this kid up. There's a lot of like kid bodybuilders out there, at this point. And this was a very controversial thing. People talked about how he has like growth spurt, or growth spurts. He has like growth deformations and like abnormalities and how he grew up, and like, they'll say that like, doing too much resistance training as a youth stunts your growth, right? And there really is just no evidence to suggest that any of that is true. Like, not at all. Now, don't get me wrong, like, injuries absolutely can happen. You're not going to stunt a youth's growth by making them more physically active. And when we say that out loud, it sounds very silly. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, why would that work? So it kind of makes sense. It doesn't really hold up under scrutiny that would happen, right? However, that being said, like they can get injured the same way any other client can, but they're going to get injured because of improper technique or maybe using too much resistance, which causes improper technique, right? Like that is absolutely true of basically any client that we have. Like I don't like to say, like I know a lot of trainers, a lot of like regular like CPT personal trainers, right? Kind of bash on CrossFit a lot. Like they're like CrossFit causes a lot of injuries and stuff. I don't really like to say that. I don't like to say that CrossFit causes a lot of injuries, because I think that like poor training causes a lot of injuries. Is poor training more prevalent in CrossFit? I don't know. I think that CrossFit is definitely a group exercise setting, and because of that, you're going to have much less personalized attention. But they are still performing exercises that traditionally are performed in like one-on-one training sessions. So they're doing very technical exercises in a group setting without personalized attention. So without like that, does it lead to more injuries? Maybe, but there's nothing inherently dangerous about like a barbell clean or a hang snatch or anything like that. There's really nothing that dangerous about the movements. What's dangerous is doing those movements without building up to them or knowing how to perform them properly. And that same thing is true with our youths, right? Like there really is no evidence, not a scrap, guys, to suggest that it will stunt your growth. It has nothing to do with like human development. The only thing that really stunts growth is like poor nutrition, lack of sleep, stress, things like that. All the stuff that is kind of bad for us as adults as well, So the research has demonstrated that this is rarely going to affect our youth. So I put up sort of the two major myths here, right? Myth one, injuries are more common amongst the youth. Again, not true, right? With proper form and proper execution, there is no more risk at training with youth than it is with like an adult. However, that being said, kids have attention spans like that. So, you should probably not do the most technical exercises in the world because maybe they're not paying as much attention to you, and then it's harder to coach, and then you're trying to do this technical thing, and then it's can't be done. So maybe hold off on the clean and jerks. The myth number two, it will halt the physical development, right? It'll stunt a person's growth. No evidence, not a single scrap of evidence to suggest that is true. So we know that there's really not a lot of drawbacks, right? We've kind of killed that part of the argument. So now, well, what about like the benefits, right? Well, what about like the things that we can gain, right? And so we see gross motor benefits. We start to develop like motor skills as we train across all of the aspects of our life. Charlie, I guess you're the only one who actually has been through this class, but in our sports class, we talk about what is called the universal athletic position, which is basically like a squat with your arms palms forward. But really it's just like moving through like a squat motion, right? And a squat is, right? So a squat is what we refer to as like it's a triple extension movement is what that means. So when I say triple extension, I'm pretty sure this will come up like on the internet. Yeah. So triple extension is basically where you are performing extension in three major body parts. Looking for a picture with arrow. There it is. So you can actually see here's triple extension right here, right? You're going into ankle plantar flexion. You are going into knee extension and you're going into hip extension. So as you come out of that squat, right? Like here, you can see she's going into triple flexion, right? Dorsiflexion, knee flexion, hip flexion. And then she comes out of that squat explosively. There is our ankle plantar flexion, which is an extension movement. Why they had to do that to the ankle, I don't know. I'm sure I knew like when I had like etymology in my brain a little bit more, but then we see knee extension and then we see hip extension. And there we go again as well, right? During a sprint, right? Triple extension versus triple flexion here. So, moving through that type of movement, like learning how to properly triple extend and triple flex and move the way that we are really supposed to and keep ourselves mobile and flexible and stuff, that's going to have really big motor improvements. So we love it. We're a big fan. This is why we like training, resistance training for, everybody we train. And it's also going to improve your body composition. So obviously we talked earlier about not earlier, but we talked about a couple days ago about obesity and how it's such an epidemic amongst our youths, but there have been shown to be in great improvements in terms of body composition when it comes to resistance training. These things burn a lot of calories, they develop a lot of muscle, that muscle burns more calories, therefore it improves body composition greatly. And one of the best ones, which we actually really, really love here, is it also has been shown to improve your bone mineral density. And so like when we talk about that, right, increased bone density, it's associated particularly with weight-bearing exercise. So we know that like activity in general, guys, is going to improve your bone mineral density, right? Because remember, we talked about this in anatomy, right? Your bones flex just a little bit when they're under tension. I need to keep like a regular number 2 pencil in my little pen cup here so I can like prove this point. But when you think about like flexing a pencil, it's all those little wood fibers. If you do it very slowly, you start to hear like before it actually like snaps, right? Well, all of those little like cracks, those are all like little tiny fibers inside the wood breaking. Your bones are kind of similar. They're sort of a honeycomb shape, and when they get pulled really hard, like when you think about like the bicep, right, it's going to run from here and it's going to go down and it's going to insert into my forearm here, and when I pull on that, it's going to pull my forearm this way, right? Like if I pull like this, it goes like that. But meanwhile, I got a big heavy dumbbell in my hand, which is pulling that back down the other direction. So now my forearm is basically flexing like this. That's happening in every single bone in your body. When you're doing a squat, the same thing is happening, right? Your femur is moving this way, right? And it's pulling this way, right? And so it's causing this like bending motion. And that creates little tiny microscopic fractures on the surface, or well, it creates microscopic fractures within our skeletal system. And those microscopic fractures get repaired. And, rather than repairing things back to exactly the way it was, our body instead always repairs things a little bit stronger than it used to be. Fun thing, by the way, we don't really know why that happens. I always say this, but we're actually not 100% certain why we're programmed to repair beyond damage, but that is how our body is kind of set up, which is great because that's how we grow, right? Same thing is true of your muscles. If you tear your muscles down, your body's going to build them up, and it's going to make them just a little bit more resistant to damage next time. I always like to think of it as like, I always like picture it like a friggin' scene inside of my head whenever I'm talking about like bodily repair. Like it's like your body is like you create a bunch of damage and your body comes along, it's like, what did you do? And then it fixes it all, and then you create more damage and your body's like, stop it. It makes it like a little bit strong. It's like, listen, a-hole, like if you're gonna keep doing this, I'm gonna make you bulletproof. And that's great. That's like, yeah, well, that's what I wanted in the end anyways, so you get denser bone, you get stronger muscle, you get all of this like really great stuff with resistance training. And it works particularly well with weight-bearing exercise. So bone density is going to increase no matter what type of activity you're doing, but there is something special about exercise that works against gravity. So lifting weights, going for a run, those are really good examples of weight-bearing exercise. Simply, I think because they just cause the most types of like abrasive impact, and that is going to result in that density. If you are doing things like swimming and using resistance bands, I love those types of exercise. Those are absolutely fantastic forms of exercise. However, they aren't necessarily quite as good for bone density. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. I'm a big fan and keep using them, but we definitely want to make sure that we're using sort of a combination of those things. And if your goal is to develop bone density, well, we know we should stick to the weight bearing style stuff. It also, some of the other benefits of strength training we can see here is it promotes a healthy like psychosocial well-being, right? Remember we talked about self-esteem and self-efficacy and self-perception, like all of those pieces that kind of come together when it comes to like the psychology of how we see ourselves and think about ourselves. Resistance training has really positive effects on that, right? Like it has been shown to help our youths develop like higher levels of self-efficacy. They believe that they can accomplish more because they have accomplished more, right? Like when you're in the gym and you're like, man, that's a heavy weight, I don't know if I can lift that. And you go lift it, you're like, oh my God, I did it, right? I'm capable of so much. That's an improvement in your efficacy. So we're a big fan of that, right? And it is also going to lower your risk for cardiovascular disease, which is great, right? We know that, again, through changes in body composition, but also through changes in strengthening the heart, the blood vessels, the lungs, like all of that is going to reduce your risk for cardiovascular disease. And then finally, one other thing that we're going to see here is by training more frequently and giving your body better proprioception, you're going to develop a resistance to injuries. We're going to see less likely to be injured. There's a couple of reasons for this. One of them is actually hypertrophy, believe it or not. And the simplest explanation I can give for that is think about like how hard it is to tear something that's thick versus how hard it is to tear something that's skinny, double C thick. That's what we look for in resistance training. We look for a little bit of hypertrophy. The larger your muscle is, the less likely it is to be pulled and to get injured. This is actually one of the reasons why in like pro sports, particularly like the NFL, they actually do a lot of hypertrophy training, even though hypertrophy is not super heavy in terms of like developing your strength, but it's also not super great at developing your endurance. It's kind of in the middle. But that in the middle makes really large muscles, and those really large muscles are hard to hurt. So there's some real benefits to our resistance training there. So we have got our general guidelines, right? We want to perform our resistance training anywhere from 2 to 3 times per week. We usually want to have about a day of rest in between our strength training sessions. We love to combine exercises. We love like putting upper body with lower body and developing a little bit of core as well. And generally during our warm-ups, when we're writing these programs, we, like I said, are going to focus on sort of corrective or functional flexibility here. So before we move too far forward on that, I do want to show you guys a quick little video here about periodization. Not that one, not that one. Oh boy, like we're really not getting the ones I want. Let's see here. Training splits. Here we go. So is that the one? Yeah. So here's a Jeremy Ethier video. This is all about like maximizing hypertrophy, but he makes a really good point here about how you can sort of dump all of your training volume onto one day, or you can spread your training volume out across several days. So we'll watch this and then I'll kind of summarize.
Meet Chris and Mark. They filtered a Bitcoin and Ethereum. One of the biggest decisions you have to make when starting out in the gym is choosing what workout split you're going to use. Or in other words, simply figuring out how you're going to group your exercises throughout the week. For example, when I first started going to the gym, I used what was popularized in fitness magazines and what everyone at the gym seemed to be doing, the bro split, which simply involves training each muscle group once per week with high volume within each workout. And
I love this joke right here, by the way. Legs, it's like sometimes.
After a few years of this style of training, as you can see in this photo of me at I believe 18 or 19 years old, I definitely made good progress. But looking back with the knowledge I now have, it begs the question as to whether or not I would have progressed noticeably faster had I used a different or better workout routine than the bro split. And honestly, I think there's a good chance I would have. And as for what I would have done instead and recommend you do as well, let's first take a look at our options. One popular option is to train certain groups of muscles together during each workout. The upper-lower split is a good example of this and involves training your upper body together and your lower body together. Another similar concept is the push-pull leg split, where again, multiple muscles are trained together each workout. Another popular option, which is basically the opposite of the bro split, is a full body routine, in which you train all of your muscles during your workouts, mainly through the use of compound exercises. And these other workout splits are likely superior to the bro split for a variety of reasons. The main reason though, as explained in my training frequency video and as outlined in this 2016 meta-analysis by Schoenfeld and colleagues, is that when volume is matched, training each muscle at least 2 times per week results in significantly greater muscle growth than training each muscle just once per week as you do in a bro split. In fact, as stated in a further meta-analysis by Greg Nuckols, subjects training at a higher frequency grew 38% faster than those training at a lower frequency, and a similar result was found for upper body strength gains as well, which is likely due to higher training frequencies not only being able to better optimize the protein synthesis response throughout the week, but also enabling you to perform higher quality sets. For example, if you do 16 sets of chest per week with 4 exercises using a bro split, you would start to fatigue after your first exercise and your performance would decrease from then on. Whereas if you were to split that into 2 workouts per week, for example, as part of your push days, then you'd be able to perform those exercises with better quality since you're not doing as much volume all at once. Thus, you can see how the bro split may not be the best option for these reasons, and opting for a split that instead trains each muscle at least twice per week is likely optimal. But now moving forward, as for which of these splits is best for you, it depends on a variety of factors, but mainly on your training experience. For example, if you're a beginner and just getting started in the gym, then I'd recommend the full body workout split 2 to 3 times per week, where within each workout you use mainly compound exercises to hit every muscle. And the reason being is because as a beginner, your primary goal should be to master the main movements in the gym by improving your motor learning, coordination, and building up a base level of strength and endurance without causing excessive muscle damage. And since a full body training split enables you to perform these movements more frequently when compared to other splits, you're able to master them more effectively and build a solid base of strength faster than you would otherwise. In fact, this 2018 paper by Ochi and colleagues found that training each muscle 3 times per week as you do in a full body split was not only more effective at improving strength in untrained individuals when compared to lower training frequencies, but it also reduced their rate of perceived exertion, meaning that they felt their workouts were easier and they were able to recover faster, despite actually performing the same amount of volume as the lower frequency group, which is a major bonus as a beginner since you're more prone to muscle damage, fatigue, and soreness from your workouts. However, despite the various benefits of full body workouts, given the positive relationship between volume and muscle growth, as you gain more experience, you're inevitably going to have to increase volume in order to further progress at the optimal rate. And although you could simply continue increasing the volume of your full body workouts, there will come a point where your workouts just become too long and fatiguing to complete. And in fact, based on research in rats at least, there may be an upper limit to the number of sets you can do per muscle in a single workout before its benefit on muscle protein synthesis plateaus. Although the exact number is not clear, it does imply that once we go above a certain threshold of workout volume, splitting it into separate workouts throughout the week should produce greater muscle growth than performing it all in a single workout. Hence why I recommend that once your progress stalls with a full body split, switch to a 4-day upper lower split or something similar such that you have more training days to fit in extra volume. And then as you gain even more experience, it can be wise and possibly more enjoyable for you to switch to a 5-day routine or a 6-day push pull leg split or something similar to once again fit in extra volume as needed to continue progressing without causing your workouts to be excessively long. But as you can see, although some routines have various advantages over others, there really isn't a best workout split. Your training routine should be simply viewed as a tool to organize your workout volume in a way that is most enjoyable and most practical for you. Whether it's with a bro split like I started out with, one of the alternatives I mentioned, or something completely different, just know that workout volume and consistency are the more important factors. So focus mainly on those two variables and you will see positive results regardless of the workout split you use. And that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. And to sum everything up for you, here are the main points that you'll want to keep in mind. I hope that this video was able to clear up any confusion you might have had regarding choosing the right workout split. And if you're looking for an all-in-one evidence-based program that combines all of this research for you in order to transform your body as efficiently as possible from your starting point, then what you can do is simply head on over to builtwithscience.com.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna see, right? So when we talk about like training volume, I kind of want to show you. So here's like an idea of like how to lay training volume out in very different ways, right? And we can take a look at like sort of what this would look like if we were to, spread it out as a total body routine or as like a workout A, workout B, sort of upper lower situation here, right? So if we take a look here, right, we know that one of the other things that's really important for like maximizing muscular growth is developing anywhere from about 10 to 20 sets per body part per week, right? That's going to be sort of our magic number in terms of like what is most effective. So we can actually see right here, we've got some different ranges set up. If you were to do 3 sets of 5 repetitions, which is pretty low, right? Like that's a pretty, high intensity, low repetition routine, where you did something like this, right? This is a great routine that's going to be very, very effective, but you're getting about 3 sets per body part and you're doing it. It's a 1-day training split. So there's only a workout A, there's no B, there's no C. And you're going to do it 3 times per week. So workout A is like you're going to start with the military press, go into a bent over row, go into a bench press, go into a deadlift, go into a squat, right? Those are sort of our 5 key powerlifting movements. And so if you take like 3 minutes of rest on each of those, because this is a max strength routine, so we know that it's gonna need lots of rest, right? Then this workout's gonna be about 57 minutes long. It's pretty lengthy, not too long, but like pretty lengthy in terms of like our resistance training section. And this will experience like muscular growth. It's not bad, right? But you're doing like 1/3 of your total volume each time, and so you're hitting that muscle 3 times per week. Now, is there a benefit between hitting something like we know that we benefit from hitting something more than once, right? I just realized I should have totally built like a bro split. I don't know why I didn't do that last night. Great. So we know that like there's sort of a benefit to working a muscle like twice per week. We definitely see some like growth benefits there, but do we see any benefits from working from 2 times up to 3 times per week, or does it go back down? Is 2 just the magic number? Not really. Like we don't see an improvement from 2 to 3, but we also don't see a drop from 2 to 3 either. So 3 is pretty much equal to 2 sets per week. We think that 2 is sort of the most optimal, but if you're hitting something 3 times per week, it's definitely not going to hurt. So we can see this is sort of a low volume, high intensity routine over here, 3 times per week. Over here, we've got sort of a medium volume, sort of medium intensity routine over here, right? So maybe we're going to be in sort of the middle of like the hypertrophy range, right? We're going to do 3 sets of maybe 6 repetitions for one muscle, and then we're going to do 4 sets of 8 repetitions for that same muscle. So because of that, that's going to involve, if we got like our shoulders, back, chest, glutes and hams, and then quads, right? Plus more glutes. Like we think about it like that, right? If we're kind of breaking that down, well, that means that like we need to hit more exercises, right? We need to have like a little bit of greater variety here. So now we've got 2 for the shoulders, 2 for the back, 2 for the chest. And then we ended up doing like, 2 kind of deadlifting style motions, and 2 sort of squatty type motions, right? And so now we can kind of see that if we're doing 3 sets of the military press, bent over row, bench press, deadlift, and barbell squat, we are going to do 4 sets of 8 for the dumbbell scaption, which is a shoulder exercise here, pull-ups, incline chest press, hip thrust, and a good morning. So that's going to be, for my shoulders, that would be 3 plus 4, so that's 7 sets total per week, except that this is a 2-day training split 2 times per week, which really means that we're going to hit workout A probably, this would look like this. Monday would be workout A, Wednesday would be workout A, and then Friday would be workout A, right? Like this is just a 1-day split. But over here, this would look something a little bit more. Hold on, I just totally screwed up my whole table here by trying to fit something in that wasn't designed to. So over here, let's see, let's cut that. Insert cut cells. There we go. And then let's insert one more. A little space, make it all pretty. There we go. All right. Oh no. And then these. What have I done? Oh, we just moved those down. No. That's not what I meant to do. 1, 2. Sorry, guys. I made this last night, and because I wanted to bring it in when we're talking about training volume today. Now I'm seeing all the errors that I made. All right, so this training split looks a little bit different, right? This one is going to look something a little bit more like this. We're going to have like Monday, which is going to be workout A, and then we'll have Tuesday, which would be workout B. And then we'll go back to workout A on Thursday. That's workout A again. And then Friday is workout B again. So we're laying our volume out a little bit differently rather than trying to do all of our training volume like on one day, right? Like if we were to just do, let's say, the classic bro split, right? And we did like a military press plus we went from like a military press into like a dumbbell lateral raise into like sort of a seated reverse fly or something right like that, right? That's 3 shoulder exercises. If we did that as like our shoulder day, right? You'd be hitting 9 sets per week, and that wouldn't be too bad, but you're also waiting an entire week before you get back to it. Whereas this version, we're spreading that volume out a little bit instead. So we get half of our training volume on one day, we get half of our training volume on the other day. Now, does this workout need to be exactly the same, by the way? Like, do you need to just have like workout A and B here? No, you could totally have done workout A, B, and then you could say like, this is workout C, and this is workout D. Like you could pick totally different versions. Like what if you wanted to do dumbbells on your other day, right? So instead of a military press, you do a dumbbell shoulder press. Instead of dumbbell scaption, maybe you do like a plate raise. Neutral grip bent over row, lat pull down, so like a different like variations within that. But either way, you're hitting upper body on Monday, lower body on Tuesday, right? Like that's sort of how that's set up. Does that make sense so far, guys? Any questions on that? Andres, Charlie, Kenny? Okay. So let's take a look at this version. So here's our high volume but very low intensity, right? This is where we've got to drop we got to raise our repetitions up so that the intensity isn't too high. And we're actually going to get 3 exercises per body part here. So bench press plus incline chest press plus chest fly, military press, dumbbell scaption, lateral raise, shoulders, right? So we're getting like a lot of like, this is very much going to be like your chest, your shoulders, and your triceps over here. And over here, we've got back, biceps, and legs. And actually, I'll kind of lay that out here as well. Let's insert one more cell here, right? So this is total body split. Over here, this is an upper/lower split. And over here, this is chest plus shoulders plus triceps slash back plus biceps plus legs. Okay, so that's sort of a different setup there, right? Both of these, both these might work. So there we're hitting 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 12. There the chest is done. Let's move on to the shoulders, finish that out, move on to the triceps, get out of there. And both these workouts are going to take about 54 minutes to perform, right? Maybe a little bit less, right? We're assuming that it would take 1 minute to get through like a set of 12 bench presses, right? Over here, 54. This one's a little bit long. This is a 63-minute workout. Like, you're gonna have a hard time kind of getting through that in a training session, to be honest, because this is like taking 2 minutes of rest. There's just a lot of like resting built in with the strength training here. So that's gonna, this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge, but that is sort of a way that we could lay all of our training volume out a little bit differently, right? Now, again, you could totally do kind of your classic bro split if you wanted to, you could absolutely just do like if I did, this is 3, 6, 9 sets here, and we would be performing it like twice per week. So this is, again, this is exactly the same kind of setup here as over here, like A on Monday, B on Tuesday, A on Thursday, B on Friday. Totally the exact same situation. But when we look at laying this out bro split wise, that would be something, like singular body parts. So it'd be like chest, and you want to try to get all the way up to probably 20 sets overall. So you'd probably be like chest, probably like maybe 4 sets of 8. and then pick 5 exercises, right? You'd be like bench press, chest fly, incline chest press, push-ups, and cable crossover, you know? There you go. You get 5 chest exercises. You're going to turn your chest into freaking goo by the end of the day. Now, could that be effective? Like, is there room for the bro split, like in the world of weightlifting? Sure. I think that, like, if you've been training like this for a while, and you need to like change things up, I think that it could be a totally effective way to kind of, you know, change things up just a little bit, get a little bit of a new sort of setup there. But in general, it hasn't been shown to be the most optimal. So it's not optimal if you have room for growth in this other capacity. But again, like sometimes the variety of just doing something totally different is enough to sort of kick your body into overdrive. So, you know, you've been training like this for 6 months, and then you decide to do something like a bro split for 30 days. That new changing up, that actually might result in more growth, even though it is sort of not benefiting from the double training per week. You know, it still could be really effective. So this is sort of a general strength training routine. You'll notice I kept just like a lot of barbell stuff here. This is very much, this isn't exactly the world's greatest routine. That wasn't really my plan here. It was just to kind of lay out training volume in a way that is hopefully easy to understand, and sort of, you know, kind of highlights the ideas of sort of benefiting from these different techniques. Do you guys have any questions on this stuff? I mean, you know, this is sometimes like a little complicated, right? Like, how you guys feeling? Nothing at all? All righty. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on from there, I guess. So let's see here. So we're talking about resistance training in general, right? Let's see what you guys on here. If we're talking about resistance training in general, generally with our youths, we are going to focus on phases 1, phase 2, or maybe up to phase 5. Those are sort of our most common, right? We focus primarily on stabilization, endurance, strength endurance. And when we do power, we're generally focusing on like explosive power more so than like our heavy, you know, maximum resistance side of the power equation. You know, youths don't really have this. They don't really have a great capacity for anaerobic style of lifting. So they benefit from plyometrics, but performing those plyometrics kind of almost in a cardiovascular fashion, right? Sort of low intensity, you know, but explosive. So make sure you're always progressing from the lower stages of the OPT upwards, right? You know, you want to start. So actually, ironically, the way we laid this out, I just realized you would probably do this in reverse. You wouldn't actually start this way. You would do the exact opposite. You would start with your high volume routine, move to your medium volume, and then move to your low volume. And so this would be, you know, a really great, you know, if we were to replace all these exercises with stabilization versions and maybe do, you know, maybe 12 to 15 repetitions, that would work really well. Over here, this medium volume one, we'd probably want to focus more on strength endurance. So this is very much like hypertrophy here. You know, 6 to 8, that's 6 to 12 is hypertrophy. So we're right in the middle of the hypertrophy range. I would probably suggest like, yeah, let's make this a little bit more endurance based. So we'd probably go from like 15 to 20 repetitions in this version. And then like we do have like our slightly high intensity version. This would probably be, we'd replace all these strength movements with explosive movements, and we wouldn't be doing 5 reps. We'd probably amp the reps up to 10 in terms of like a youth version. But what we're going to see, and you can kind of see those guidelines here. So in general, guys, when it comes to the resistance, pick a weight that is appropriate for your client. And then whenever you are, you know, raising that up, you're going to try to increase the load 5 to 10%. You know, you don't really want to go any higher than that. This is when it comes to like raising the weight on things. Like your youths are still going to get stronger, and we do want them to lift heavier because that's going to challenge their body. But we're not putting them into an anaerobic zone. I don't want like my youth client to go from doing 12 reps of something And then they're like, yeah, that was easy. I killed it. And you're like, you did kill it. Like, let's make it harder, right? And then I make it so hard they can only do 6 reps. They did 6 reps, which would be very like anaerobic, and they just aren't going to benefit from that very much, they're probably going to fudge their form. So I really only want to try to increase the weight anywhere from about, in my opinion, I like 5% for upper body exercises and 10% for lower body exercises. That's the load that I like to sort of try to aim for in terms of like an increase. So we're going to do anywhere from 1 to 3 sets of our exercises in general. And then we're going to do anywhere from 6 to 15 repetitions if we're trying to develop strength in our youths, anywhere from 3 to 6 repetitions if we're trying to develop power in our youths. With our youth clients, we really like dumbbells, we like barbells, we like plates, we like machines, we like resistance bands, we like medicine balls, we like sandbags, ropes, body weight exercises. All of them are really, really good. All of these different pieces of equipment here are all going to be very effective, right? So don't jump ahead in the OPT, but progress accordingly. So don't forget, like when it comes to, actually, am I going to see that? Yeah, we'll get to it in just a second. So we do like sort of the traditional forms, barbells, dumbbells, and plates and things like that. But we also really like all that fun stuff. We like Bosu balls. We like body weight exercises, battle ropes, all that fun, unique, interesting stuff. So the OPT model, of course, I closed my PowerPoint. The OPT model is a great way to sort of progress everything. It gives you, it has built-in progression to it, right? You can see it's going to start in stabilization to build a foundation, move its way into strength to develop a little bit of force production, and then power to improve that rate of force production, right? I totally moved forward, but yeah, that's what we're looking for in terms of our adaptations. So stabilization, this is where we are going to start, right? We want to use an unstable environment in order to build up our client. So let's say you get a client, like you can see this version here, right? She is doing a seated stability ball shoulder press, which is a really great exercise. It's very unstable. She's sitting on a ball, so like she's probably moving a little bit while she's like trying to do this, right? So this is a pretty good exercise here. If she was to improve, like let's say we've been training, we started her off, she's got 5-pound dumbbells in her hand, right? We're doing, let's say 3 sets of 12, right? So week 1, she does 3, she's really strong. She's like, that was tough. And then like, week 2, she's getting a little bit stronger. Week 3, she's like, you know what? I kind of feel like I could do like 20 of these now. Like I'm way stronger than I was before. And it's like, really? And it's like, yeah. What would you guys do? What would you guys do to make that harder? If she feels like she could do more, it's not hard enough anymore. We know we need to challenge the body in order to experience growth. So what would you guys do in this scenario? She's doing the seated stability ball shoulder press. It's a pop quiz, everybody. This is worth 100% of your grade for this module. Are you guys still around? I'm not sure I've got anybody in this call anymore. I haven't heard from you guys in a while.
Wait, what was that, Brad?
Okay. So you've got your client here, right? And they're doing a seated stability ball shoulder press.
Right.
And you've been training them for a while. They're doing really good. It's solid. They feel like it's too easy. How do you make it harder?
Maybe like without the ball and just on one leg.
Nailed it. Yeah, great answer. Nice job.
What about on the ball, but maybe just with one arm, like make it unilateral or yeah, right?
Yep, there you go. That's another really good answer. So here's sort of our progressions, right? We got them kind of laid out right here. So there's 2 ways to progress things. This is an upper body exercise. It's a little unique because like she is using a piece of like lower body equipment. So standing up and going to like one leg, you'll notice like isn't really one of the options here, but we do notice that like we go from like a 2-leg situation because she's sitting on 2 legs. We could go into like a staggered stance situation or a single leg situation. So this is a way to make that jump, but you nailed it, right? Like what we're looking for in terms of making things harder in stabilization is by making things more unstable, right? We don't have to always just make things heavier, right? We can make things harder by changing the tempo, changing the stability, right? There's a lot of different things. So for lower body exercises, let's say you're doing like you start a brand new client, you're in stabilization, but they're brand new, and you're just going to start them on like a regular old like body weight squat, which isn't necessarily unstable at all, right? But they're brand new, and so you're like, and you did their assessment, like a little rough, right? So we're going to start them, you know, doing sort of just a body weight exercise, even though it isn't necessarily like really that much stabilization, right? So they are going to go from like a 2 legs stable situation. So you're just going to have them squat like this, right? Nothing fancy there. But then as they sort of get better at that, you can move into a staggered stance situation. So if I were like doing this, this would be like moving into a situation like this, right? But we want to keep the squat movement. So staggered stance doesn't necessarily apply very well here. So instead, we'll sort of move into like a staggered, maybe with a piece of equipment. So maybe I'm squatting down, but now you take one of my legs and put it under like a half foam roller that's going to rotate like this, right? So now this leg has to stabilize. So I do half my reps with the left leg and half my reps with the right leg, right? And I would swap those over. And then we're going to move into a single leg version. So then maybe we progress them into like a single leg squat situation, right? Then once they're good at that, all of that, and they've done it in very stable, like on the floor environments, then we can move them into unstable environments, right? So then we can have them do 2 legs unstable. So put them on top of a Bosu ball, put both legs on top of half foam rollers, both legs on Dynadisc, right? So now they got to squat and they're doing all this like stability stuff, right? And they're like rocking a little bit and shaking a little bit. That's great. They get really good at that. The shaking goes away. Their Bosu squats look just like any other squats, right? We can go into that staggered stance where we separate the pieces of equipment out. That makes it more unstable. And then eventually, you know, they're on a freaking Bosu squat ball doing like single leg squats, right? So that is sort of our lower body progression. It goes from, and this is something you guys need to have memorized because this is another one that they like to test you on. So it goes from 2 legs stable to a staggered stance stable to a single leg stable. Then we go 2 legs unstable, staggered stance, unstable, single leg, unstable. And by the way, you could always apply all of this to their upper body exercises as well. She could do her shoulder press just standing. She could do it in a staggered stance, which would make it slightly more unstable. She could do it on a single leg, which would make it more unstable. Then we put her on some pieces of equipment, right? 2 legs on top of a Bosu, right? 1 leg on top of a Bosu until she's standing on 1 leg doing Bosu shoulder presses, right? By the way, Bosu's easy. I use it as my example all the time. It's not even in your textbook, but it's just one of those pieces of equipment that's so popular in gyms. I've been using it for like my whole career, and clients love it. And they're not that expensive anymore. They used to be like $100, but now you can get like knockoff versions. By the way, I just saw this because it just reminded me. I was going to tell everybody I got my new coffee, my Team Trash coffee mug. It's got a possum on it, and I'm possum obsessed. So if you ever, I always feel weird that like you guys see like my my like all my normal Amazon purchase whenever we go here. Yeah, so the original version's like $120, and that's great. Like honestly, I still think it's worth that. You know, I think that the Bosu is totally worth $120. It's a great piece of equipment, very dynamic. But we just live in a world with lots of knockoffs now, and those knockoffs are not bad. Here's like a $60 one. Let's see if this is any good. I have a knockoff one downstairs right now. It's a little different. You can definitely see it's like a little. It's actually a little bit of a bigger apex, but you know it's not bad. Honestly, $60. Like get one, guys. I really recommend. This is a great piece of equipment. Your clients love working on stuff like this.
I actually got one, bro. I use it a lot.
Do you? Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, especially like before I squat. I
Oh.
do I'll do like squats on it, you know, as a warm up.
Oh
Or
yeah.
I'll do like stability workouts, like I'll stand in 1 foot and then I'll have my brother toss me a medicine ball and then while I keep my hip up, you know.
Dude, I
My
love
stuff, yeah.
You're crushing it. Yeah, that's great. I love. You ever see the people friggin'? I wish I could do this. Bosu pistol squat. I want to learn how to do a pistol squat so bad, but my balance just But I'd like right here.
Introducing a new kind.
Oh yeah, man, those are crazy.
Oh man, it's the thing is, it's with the leg forward, it's so much harder. Like I can do a single leg squat all day, but putting my leg forward like that, just
Yeah, that's crazy.
and then like, did you see this guy? I just noticed this just a second ago. I got it. That is wild. Come on. Do it again.
Yeah, man, he has like mad, like, you know, strength and stability too, right?
Right? Yeah. I will say I used to do like I'd stand on medicine balls like this and just do regular squats all the time. About that size, but I could never do it single leg. I mean, that's just crazy. Come on. That's so good. That's awesome. Anyway, I can watch that all freaking day. So that's single leg unstable. That's about as hard as it gets. Now the other progression you guys also need to know. You guys also need to know your upper body progression. So it's going to go 2 arms into alternating arm, which would be something like this, into a single arm. And then you're also going to do single arm with rotation, which we actually don't have an example of for like something that's moving just in like the frontal plane. But imagine if you were doing a chest press, right? I would go 2 arms. I would go alternating arm. I would do single arm. And then the single arm with rotation would be this. And then I would rotate my body as well. So it goes up with a rotation. You can do it in upper back exercises, right? You can rotate, but it doesn't work super well with like shoulder presses. There just really isn't, like, unless you were to do like that, and that's like, nah, don't do that. And then all of that same progression, 2 arms unstable, alternating arms unstable, single arm unstable, single arm with rotation unstable. So that is our progression for our stabilization exercises. So let's go ahead and talk about like how to actually write down a stabilization routine. So when you are looking at an OPT template, right, and you're in the resistance section, if your client is in level 1, you are going to choose either total body stabilization exercises, chest stabilization exercises, back stabilization, shoulder, biceps, triceps, or legs, right? These are the foundation for everything, right? This is the foundation for all of your other resistance training. They're the same movements, they're just unstable versions of them. So these are exercises that involve unstable environments that focus on training for stability. Now, there's a big list. You've got lots of exercises in your book, you know. If you go to that exercise checklist that I send you guys, and you look here, right, at the stabilization checklist, if I scroll down to the chest stuff, we've got 4 chest exercises in the textbook. It's not bad, but like, what about like all the funky other stuff that's out there? You know, like on the, like, actually, let's go to legs, right? Like legs, we've got the ball squat, a multiplanar step up, cable squat, a Bosu ball squat, or a ball hamstring curl. All of those are unstable leg exercises, and they're great. But we didn't see that pistol squat like we just saw in the video there, right? So where does the pistol squat fall? Well, this is, again, why I want you guys to understand the defining characteristics that make something stabilization, right? It is an unstable environment that focuses on training for stability. The pistol squat is a single leg squat. That absolutely falls under leg stabilization exercises. Again, you could memorize every exercise in your book and probably pass your test just fine. But when you get out in the real world and you got a client who says, hey, I just saw this exercise on Instagram and I want to train for it, you know, where are we going to put this in my training cycle? You need to know like what exercises belong in which spots. And you need to, and that's what you're going to get from understanding like the defining characteristics. The defining characteristics of stabilization exercises is that they are versions of exercises that are unstable. So that is our chest. That is our stabilization level. Then we've also got the strength level, right? These are going to be resistance strength exercises. So total body strength, chest strength, back strength, shoulder strength, bicep strength, tricep strength, leg strength, right? Our 7 body parts, right? Total body, chest, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps, legs. So these are really great as well, right? This is definitely going to be where you get like a lot of the you know, rate of not rate of force production, but just overall like force production. The, you know, we love strength exercises, but they are stable versions of the same joint actions, right? Like I went from doing like maybe a stability ball chest press into just like a bench press, right? Bench is very, very, very stable. You know, we can increase the resistance here very easily. We can make things heavier. We're going to primarily focus on like prime mover strength. So we went from doing like a stability ball shoulder press, which is very unstable, to doing a seated shoulder press, which is very stable, right? So these are exercises that involve a stable, heavy resistance environment, right? Stable, but you know, heavy. So the bench press is a good example. The seated row is a really good example. The barbell squat is a really good example. So when I asked you, you know, Charlie, you nailed it. How do we make something harder in stabilization? We make it more unstable. How do we make something harder in strength? We make it heavier, right? We would raise the weight for our clients. Here, yep. I'm going to keep the weight the same. Now, I will say this. I want to make sure we don't go too far in one direction here. Let's say you got a client who's doing 5-pound shoulder presses. Oh, it's funny. We lost Charlie for a second. There you go. Welcome back. Let's say we were doing like 5-pound shoulder presses and you've got them doing it like, you know, they got a blindfold on and they're standing on one leg and they're on top of like a Bosu ball that's stacked on top of a medicine ball that's stacked on top. You know, like at some point it's like, all right, I know we're in stabilization, but yeah, raise the weight, you know, like you still do want it to be like, you know, you can still make things heavier in stabilization, but our goal is to improve stability, not weight. In strength, that's not the case. In strength, make it heavier, right? That's what we're going for. We're working on increasing resistance and prime mover strength. Therefore, you are going to benefit in the strength level by making stuff way, way, way heavier. So that's going to be like the bench press, the seated row, the barbell squat, right? Then if we've got a client who's in the power level, right? This is our final progression here. We want to make sure that we are also still in a stable environment, and we are going to choose resistance power exercises. So that's going to be a total body power exercise, a chest power exercise, a back power exercise, shoulders, or legs. You'll notice that we don't have 7 here. We're missing biceps and triceps because you don't do single joint actions for power. It would just be very silly to do like a tricep extension like this. Doesn't make much sense. So our goal here is to enhance rate of force production. So if that's the case, if I'm trying to improve my speed of my contractions, my rate of force production, then I need to make sure that I'm picking exercises that have a rapid eccentric and concentric movement through that full range of motion. This is the biggest mistake a lot of people make. And I'll actually look up, let's find a video on YouTube here and watch the medicine ball chest pass. I want to see it with like a trainer. I think that'll work. He's doing it against the wall. All right, so here's my problem with doing it against the wall. I mean, doing it against the wall is great. Like when you're training by yourself, you know, you kind of need to do it against the wall. You don't often have like a gym partner. These guys ever, there we go. So you can see like he's really exploding, right? But my problem with this is that he is being very explosive concentrically, and that's great, but he is not being explosive at all eccentrically. He is unloading, but he's never learning how to load. So that is not as awesome because you're missing half of your muscle actions. So this is where, like, again, we kind of see this style of thing, you know, in a lot of these versions here, you know. That's actually not so bad. She's doing a little bit, actually, this is actually working a little bit better because she's got like a stiffer ball. So see how she's rapidly catching it and bringing it right back to her chest. Now, the one problem that I have with this is that she's just holding her repetition there. So she's got like a little pause in between each rep where she kind of resets. Now, that's a good, you know, if that means that like she needs to do that reset in order to like get a, you know, proper form and stuff, then obviously it should be done that way. There we go. But now see how she's like picking up the pace? That's power training right there. She's rapidly loading and she's rapidly unloading, right? That's what we are looking for in true power training. So like in our squat jumps, we don't want our squat jumps to look like this, right? Where it's explosive during the jump. I want to be explosive in both directions, right? I want to throw my arms down, which drives me into my low squat. And then I want to explode up explosively, right? Rapid in both directions, eccentric and concentric. So that is going to always be done on a stable environment. It's going to be really great for developing strength in your prime movers. So the medicine ball chest pass is a really good example. The medicine ball reverse wood chop throw is a good example. It's a really weird exercise, but basically that is where you have a medicine ball here and you actually throw it like that behind you. The squat jump is a really good example, right? All of those, fantastic. We love these exercises. So use the OPT model to move your client up or down. Like I said, with general like youth clients, we're going to focus primarily on stabilization, endurance, and power. With our adult clients, we can use hypertrophy and max strength as well. But your exercise selection for phases 2, 3, and 4, it's all the same. It's still just strength exercises. So in terms of raising the difficulty, like we said, in stabilization, increase the instability, right? We use stability to make things harder. In strength, we use resistance to make things harder, make it heavier, right? And in power, we use more resistance or we use speed. You know, if I make you do some box jumps and I'm like, hey, you've been killing it, and then I put you on a box that's 2 inches higher, now you have to jump higher, which means you have increased your speed. Or I could be like, all right, well, now you're gonna do squat jumps and you're gonna hold these 10-pound dumbbells, you know? I'm gonna load up like 20% of your body weight, and that's gonna make it harder. So there's a lot of options for making, there's more options for making stuff harder in the power level than the other two. You get sort of 2 options there. Is there a blank page of notes at the bottom? This is why my attachments are so big. So our benefits here, right, with resistance training, we know that they're safe. We know they improve their motor skills, body composition, bone mineral density, psychosocial well-being, and it reduces your risk for injury. That's pretty much everything you want in like a good life, you know, in terms of like how we want our body to work and our brains. Like this is about as good as it gets. So general guidelines, 2 to 3 times per week. Making sure you have about 1 day of rest in between, at least for those body parts. You'll notice like in this version we laid out here. Honestly, guys, total body routines are probably what you're going to kind of stick to with our youth clients. You're probably not going to do intense training splits where it's like leg day and upper body day or something like that. It doesn't really, it's probably just not going to be most effective for like your youth clients, because youth are stimulated by like lots of variety. So the more body parts that you're kind of training frequently will sort of keep them coming back. But you're going to focus anywhere from 1 to 3 sets, and you'll notice anywhere from 3 to 15 repetitions. It's pretty low there, but that would be like your explosive power stuff. 15 repetitions, that'd be great for your endurance stuff. Progress it, regress it, use the OPT model effectively. And that is sort of how we're going to do this. So let's go ahead and lay this out here in an example version. So now we've sort of got our example. We've got a stabilization routine. We've got a strength endurance routine, and we've got a power routine for our youths here. So you'll notice that we're doing about 15 repetitions each time. Is kind of what we're aiming for here, just because like that's still well within stabilization, but it is slightly higher repetition, which our youth clients are going to respond really well to. So we're going to do a step up to balance with curl to press. That is a lot of stuff in one movement, and that's why it's a total body exercise. We put it right at the top because it kind of gets everything going simultaneously. So step up, curl, balance to overhead press. You're going to have your client step on, and then they're going to do a bicep curl and a shoulder press, and then they'll come back down and they'll rinse and repeat. And that's the whole thing, right? Works really well. Then from there, we will, where did my thing go? From there, we'll move on to regular old push-ups. That's a great one. Kids love developing their push-ups. Single leg bent over row. Absolutely love this exercise. It's a great unstable version that really works on your balance while also giving you, the opportunity to pull your shoulder blades back. So you can see he's going to get his heavy dumbbells here, very heavy dumbbells. He's going to take himself down and he's going to do those rows. Perfect, right? Then we've got ball combo number 1. This is one of my favorite exercises that we've got. This is also known as a YTA. Oftentimes you'll have to start this with like body weight, but then starting to do like a little 2.5 pound plates and then maybe 5 pound plates. But she's going into a Y, then into a T, and then she's doing an A pull. So she pulls her thumbs up and goes back into an A position. Right, so think YMCA, but different letters. Really great for the shoulders. Really, really, really great for your posture. Then we've got a single leg hammer curl. So that'd be for the biceps. Stability ball, tricep extensions as a skull crusher on a stability ball. Looks something kind of like this. So she's got a nice bridge position here. She's using her glutes, right? And she's just working those triceps, bringing those dumbbells right back to just to the sides of the temple there. And then a single leg squat with touchdown, right? Which is just a really great, unstable, leg exercise, if your client can handle it, right? Obviously, if you find that this is a little bit too heavy, a little bit challenging, right? You wouldn't have to do this version. You could do a regular squat and then start putting them on pieces of equipment to make that stability. So like I said, we're doing 15 repetitions pretty much for everything. You can see we got that set up as 8 each in situations where it's like a single-sided exercise. But that would be a very good stabilization routine. So if you were to pair this with your movement prep and your warm-up, this is our first month for our client Ethan here, right? We're got him in stabilization. Then we're going to move him into strength endurance. Now, one thing that we didn't necessarily address, you can always do strength endurance for just high repetitions, do strength movements for, 15 to 20 repetitions, maybe even up to 24 repetitions if you really wanted to. But we didn't want to go that high. So we actually wanted to do sort of a traditional strength endurance routine here. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow, when we get to we've got big chart day coming up tomorrow, by the way. When we do big chart day tomorrow, we are going to be looking at how we want in strength endurance, in the strength endurance phase, you want to pair stabilization routines up with your strength routines. You want to do sort of a drop set technique. I don't know if you guys have done drop sets, but it's where you lift real heavy and you can't do anymore. So you drop the weight down just a little bit and immediately keep going as many reps as you can. Sometimes they're called burnouts. If you've ever done it, like where you go all the way, you know, where eventually you get little 5-pounders and you're like, so that is a sort of a drop set technique. This is very similar to that, except that when you do your drop, you're moving from a strength exercise into a stabilization exercise. So we would do a floor dumbbell chest press and then flip right over and do push-ups. You know, maybe we'd even do single leg push-ups, right? And so we do 8 repetitions of each of those. That's a total of 16 chest repetitions. And that's why that's endurance. So paired that up with the bent over row and then the single leg bent over row. And then we do the scaption plus ball combo number 1, and then the deadlift into the squat touchdown. So you'll notice here that we actually kept the same exercises. We kept the same exercises from our last month, right? We've got push-ups, we've got the single leg bent over row, we've got the ball combo number 1, and the single leg squat touchdown. We just added a strength movement before each of them. That's a really good way to progress your client because that is combining new stuff with stuff that they are unfamiliar with. So that's sort of what that would look like there. And then we've sort of got, and that like I said, that's our phase 2 sort of strength endurance routine. So we're moving Ethan from month 1 into month 2. This is sort of what that would look like. So now he's doing he's doing 8 exercises instead of just 7. And we can throw his biceps and triceps in there. You know, there's no reason we couldn't do bis and tris. I just don't think I put it in here because we probably wouldn't have. I think it's just like a timing issue. So then we've got our power stuff over here. So month 3, our circuit gets a little bit simpler. We've got a total body power exercise like burpees, right? Burpees are sort of the king of total body power, right? All the way down and explode, right? So freaking good for you. And then we pair that up with like plyometric push-ups. So maybe if they can do the clap, then great. If they can't do like a full, explosive push-up by this point, that's okay. They can always do it on like a bench or something like that, which allows them to be a little bit more explosive, right? So she's going to go down. That's the regular version. Can we get the explosive version, please? So I put this link in here. There we go. So you're going to be, all the way explosive, get a little bit of air there. And like I said, if you can't do that version, just put them on a bench. That makes the resistance a little bit lower. Then we get into a medicine ball slam. Is a great exercise for strengthening the upper back. Actually, it's a lat exercise. I know it kind of looks like he's doing a lot of leg stuff, but that's just him descending into a squat. When you look at it, it's very explosive for those lats, right? So it's a rapid throwing of the arms. Push press, which is a great one for the shoulders. So she's going to dip with her knees, and then that's going to allow her to be explosive and drive those dumbbells up. And the NASA models just are not that explosive. You could definitely be a little faster moving than this. And then we get the box jump. Nice and explosive for the legs there. So, and that'd be a really great, little circuit there. It doesn't have to be the only circuit, right? You'd probably be able to move through this pretty quick, honestly. This would probably take maybe 20 minutes. You could very easily, copy this circuit and do like another version afterwards, right here where it's a different total body exercise, maybe like a, I don't know, like a split squat to toe touch, right? And then you could do like a different chest explosive exercise, like a medicine ball chest pass, different medicine ball, do a reverse wood chop throw, do some speed tubing chest, shoulder presses, and then like a forward jump, or maybe just a squat jump or a tuck jump, right? All those would work really well as well. But that is sort of a basic version of everything we've got here. If we were building like a full, 3-month routine for our client, right? And you can see that kind of follows similarly to just this general volume routine here, which kind of works us through, different versions there. Different volumes, different amounts of sets per body part, different training splits. Any questions today, guys? That's about it.
Yeah, I'm good, bro. Thank you.
Cool. Hopefully you're getting a little more familiar with how to lay out like an overall, like year. That's the periodization technique,
Yeah, for sure.
Andres, Kenny, you got anything for me? Andres, I have a feeling you're probably on the road.
All good.
All righty, guys. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We have big ass chart day tomorrow, so be excited.
All right, for sure, bro. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. See ya.
All right, bye.
Thank you, man.